Cinema is a very valuable teaching aid. Okay. Then I have PQRS, which is obviously jumbled, and then I have the sixth one. Thus, cinema has a great impact on our society. Now, from the topic sentence, again, unfortunately in the options, we have different options. After one, we have P, S, R, Q. All four are mentioned there. Which means, what's the key word or the highlighting word in the topic sentence? Quickly, somebody pointed out. Cinema is a very valuable teaching aid. What's the key word or the clue word? And throughout the sequence in PQRS, you might have examples or elaboration or explanation of that highlighting word. Yes, cinema is one keyword, yes. But for you to connect to the remaining sentences, what other keyword is there in the topic sentence is my question. Teaching aid, right? That's my clue phrase. Now, if I look at the sequence, there are only two sentences explaining or elaborating on that teaching aid clue phrase, which is what? Historical films help the teacher of history. Science can also be taught very effectively through cinema, right? Are you following? So, historical films help the teacher of history. How is it a teaching aid? Teacher of history is helped. Science also is taught through cinema. Why should R follow Q? Because of this descriptive clue word also, which means there's something that is gone preceding that sentence, addressing the teaching aid, right? Which means R definitely has to follow Q. Now let's look at the sequence and see which is the sequence that is giving me that. PQRS, okay. But P is saying cinema is also entertaining. There's also a descriptive clue word here. But we've already identified that our clue phrase is teaching aid. So obviously it cannot start with P. It has to start with Q. And there is no other sequence where, even though B is also has a sequence with R following Q, S says a large number of people like social films. Entertaining aspect is connected to social films, right? How else is it entertaining cinema? People watch films, right? They like to see social films, which means S has to follow P, right? These are the two connecting sentences. Are you following? R has to follow Q because of also both are explaining or elaborating on the clue phrase teaching aid. S has to follow P because P has another clue word saying entertaining. How is it entertaining? People like watching films, social films. Are you following? So the only sequence that gives me that is option D. QRPS. Followed? Right? So what we keep doing is, it's the same strategy. Sentence jumbles, it's much easier as compared to para jumbles because it's shorter, right? We still have to keep paying attention to hint words and keywords. The next one, technology is meant for bringing comfort to the body and spirituality brings comfort to the mind. Okay. Then I have, but scientists here in the West, they intertwine with life in music, art, drama, dance, painting and sculpture. Okay. So quickly, again, I have the closing sentence they. Looking at my options, I have two options starting with P. Okay. May not be the right sequence just because I have more than one option starting with P. I also have two options starting with S. Right. So let's see which one is right. Look at the options itself, right? It says P starts with but in India. Obviously, it cannot start with P. So I will eliminate A and C, right? Because of the contradictory but. If you look at PQRS, the comparison is between India and the West, right? Which means in the West has to start prior to India, right? Technology is meant for bringing comfort to the body and spirituality brings comfort to the mind is a very general statement. But if you look at PQRS, there is a very clear distinction where they are comparing between India and West. So, it starts off with S. In the West, religion was always opposed to science. How? Scientists were persecuted. How was it opposed to science in the West? Scientists were persecuted. Okay. Is that correct? We don't know. Let's see. Right? Scientists were persecuted. And then it says, but on the contrary, as compared to the West, but in India, that never happened. What never happened? Scientists were not persecuted. Right? That never happened is connecting to Q. That never happened as religion has always encouraged science. So, what is it that happened in India? Here, how was it encouraged? Religion has always, how has religion encouraged science? Religion and philosophy were never isolated practices. That's how it was. It has encouraged science. So obviously the option has to be B, SQPR. Are you following? Very simple. Don't get confused. Sometimes the topic sentence may seem very disconnected, right? Don't look for immediate connect with the topic sentence. Look at the options and see if there is some comparison between two entities. And in this, it's between India and the West. Right? So here, religion and philosophy are never isolated practices. And so the sixth one, they is referring to religion and philosophy. Right? How was it never isolated practices? They intertwined with life in music, art, drama, dance, painting, and sculpture. Followed? Designing is as natural to me as breathing. And then you have PQRS. And then the last line, next month I'll be going to New York. Okay. So it was then that I launched my own label. Then meaning when, question. Right? Can't be my first sequence. I will eliminate B. It's been a good season so far. What's been a good season so far? Right? It has no connection to the first one. But my career took off only after the birth of my second child. Okay? So designing is as natural to me as breathing. Let's look at the last one again. Right now I'm busy with my first store. Okay? So which means the first store have to be launched first, right? So only after you launch your label can you look at your first store. Which means S has to follow P. That's your connecting sentence, right? Logically, you have to launch your label first and then you will have your store. And it anyway says my first store. So that's a connect there for you, P and S. Which is a sequence that is giving that we already said it cannot start with P, right? And in the remaining options, P and S is not following. So the only option that is left is A, R, P, S, Q, right? So designing is as natural to me. So how you need to look at it is, though designing was as natural to this person as breathing, but they were only able to focus on their career after the birth of the second child, right? So this could be their passion, but they were not able to focus on their passion until the birth of the second child. Or it was then that I launched my own label. So after I was able to focus on my career after my second child, that is when I launched my own label. So as soon as I launched my own label, I became very busy, right? My first store came. Right now I'm busy with my first store. And then obviously, it's been a good season so far. So because it's been a good season so far, it is giving her opportunities to branch off to other places, right? Only when there is more profit and you're expanding and you're doing really well, you take it to other locations, right? So next month, I'll be going to New York as a result of the good profit that's coming in or good revenue that this person is making. When you say own label, it's like their own brand, right?